Hello and welcome back to the When You're Podcast, the podcast for when you're doing anything. Today we're talking about when you're watching Kung Fu Panda 2. So this is the sequel to the Kung Fu Panda franchise. And can I just, let me just say this. This movie is so good. I didn't watch it in a long while. I mean, this is the thing about this movie. I think it's the best one, but I feel like it's kind of I don't want to say tainted. It's still really good. It's just that like you gotta take some time away from it, because I remember when it first came out, it was fire, and then like some years go by, and then they do reruns of it on like TV. So they would do like reruns of it on like FX, and because they would do it like every single day, like almost every single day. Like I'm pretty sure, maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, but they would Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 2, Kung Fu Panda 2. That and Madagascar 2, Escape to Africa. Man, that movie, they replayed it like dozens and dozens and dozens of times every single day. Like it was nuts. So I felt like it was a bit, they were oversaturating it. They were giving you too much of it. It was just kind of like, it got annoying at a certain point. You know what I'm saying? So, but that had nothing to do with the movie itself. It was more so that like, you know, when somebody just like keeps on throwing stuff in your face and you're just kind of like sick of it. Well, that's what this movie kind of felt like. And it's not like I watched it all the time. I would just be like, oh, I wouldn't watch that particular movie or the channel or the whatever. But it just kind of felt like whenever a commercial would come on, it'd be like, next up is Kung Fu Panda 2. And it's just like, what? Like, so crazy. But anyways, that's what I felt about well, that's not how I feel about the movie, but it was just like something that kind of pushed me away from it a little bit. Whereas like the first Kung Fu Panda, well, the first Kung Fu Panda was a lot more, I guess it was more classic. And then the sequel was really good, so I guess they just kept pushing that one out. I don't know what their thought process was, but anyways, we open this movie with a beautiful, they do a great job. It kind of reminded, you know what the opening reminded me of? Obviously it's like they do the puppet storytelling. You know what I'm talking about? They show it in that way, and I really like that, the opening, because it just kind of gives us basic introduction to what we're going to be dealing with Lord Shen and everything else. It just kind of tells us what's going to happen. And I felt like the reason I liked it so much, or I felt like that opening was so strong for me, because it reminded me of like old Disney films, or like the classic Disney films, like the animated ones. Like it reminded me of Beauty and the Beast. You know, the opening when that guy's telling the story of how the prince became the beast. You know, stuff like that. Like it reminded me of that, and I really enjoyed that, just like opening intro to it all. It kind of just made it easier to digest or to understand, like, okay, so this is the bad guy, or this is what happened, and so on and so forth. So overall, it was a solid intro, and I really like the soothsayer. I don't remember who's the voice of the soothsayer. Hopefully it's somebody good, because they did a great job. They had like there's a good banter between the soothsayer and Lord Shen that I really enjoyed, and it was really funny. Oh my goodness, Michelle Yeoh, yes. Okay, okay, so I felt like it was her, but I didn't want to say anything in case I was wrong, but she does a great job in this, so congrats to her. I'm surprised she doesn't make any more appearances in those films, but you know, you can't always do a star-studded cast, I guess. So anyways, we get introduced to Lord Shen. He wants metal for his weapon, and yada yada yada. And then we get Po. We get to understand what he's been up to and what life is like since working with the Furious Five. And of course they're goofing off, and I kind of like that. I like that it's not the serious tone anymore like it used to be. It's not like it's not training nonstop. It's like they can goof off and have fun, and even Tigress isn't on it, and everybody's like more of a friend group, more of a team now, you know, and that's funny to me. I really like that. And then Master Shifu tries to teach or tries to talk to Poe about inner peace, tries to teach him how to be complete in yourself. And there's this funny thing where he's like, the day you were chosen as Dragon Warrior was the worst day of my life. And I just felt like that was, man, that is such comedic gold. They knew what, the writers knew what they were doing in this movie. They did such an amazing job with balancing all the characters and making them believable. Although I do feel like there are so many moments that the voice actors kind of are pushed off to the side, but overall they all kind of get their chance to have a fun little moment, you know what I mean? They each have their own little thing. So eventually we get word that the wolves that are working for Lord Shen are stealing metal from a musical village and whatnot. And so that's when we get the beginning action fight, which is, without a doubt, the best action fight, hands down, from Kung Fu Panda that we've seen. I still really like the way that they protect the people, but it's just a balance of all the Furious Five and Poe and how like they all work together now, you know? I just felt like it was so cool, and the choreography is great, the animation is great, and I just really liked it. And I like the musical element with the bunny. And it really showed off the Furious Five's combo attacks, what they're capable of doing, or like Poe could fight them, but as a team, the Dragon Warrior and the Furious Five, they were able to do anything. They were able to beat anyone. Unless Poe gets distracted, which does end up happening. But it's just an example of what they've all been doing. Protecting the valley, training, you know, protecting the valley and then training and protecting the valley and then, you know what I mean? So that's kind of like his everyday life now. And unfortunately, while they technically really won the battle, they also lost it because they took all the metal pots and pans. So yes, they could beat them, but that, you know, it's really a shame because Poe was beating them, but like, of course, flashbacks and memories and tragic pasts, they have to come back and haunt him like a nightmare, and it forces him to lose his edge, and then he gets hit in the face with a hammer, you know, but he bounces back really quickly, you know what I'm saying? So these flashbacks come from the symbol on the wolf's shoulder that represents Lord Shen, or his peacock feathers. They represent kind of the peacock feathers, or the symbols of what he's trying to do. And he has this flashback about his parents, about his mom, and there's kind of this moment where he's just like, oh my goodness, who am I? Where do I come from? What's going on with why do I have these visions, or why do I see this, or how is this a flashback, or this memory of mine, you know? And I felt like that was a good way to, I mean, it was really a good way to kind of poke at what we've all been kind of thinking, is that like, surely he's not the only panda, you know what I'm saying? It's just more so that, what should I say? He's not the only panda. It's just that, like, where they're not around. I don't know. But in the first movie, it's kind of like glossed over. It's just like for fun. It's like, oh, he's a panda with a goose father. Like, you know, not a panda mom or a panda dad. It's just like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just kind of played on for laughs. It's not really thought about all that much. And then this movie kind of pokes at it and is like, no, you're, you know, spoiler alert, he's adopted by his goose father. And we kind of just understand, or we want him, or we follow him on this journey to figure out who is he, what is he, where does he come from? Is he abandoned? Was he, you know, was there trouble that happened and he got like, he ran away or whatever, or like maybe it was an accident, right? Like all of these little things that come back to haunt you, or that you think about. And these memories, it's crazy that he has these memories from when he was a baby, but they're kind of the only thing that plague him and that poke at his mind and keep him from focusing, and they keep him from being the best that he can actually be. And he has to find inner peace by figuring out who he is. And so it's kind of like these memories are going to guide him into a complete realization of who he is. So instead of looking at it as like nightmares, they're kind of like, well, they're just a larger part of the story, you know? They're the opening, or they're the beginning of it, but they're not the totality of all that he is. So it's just kind of like a framework, a guide, a way to see, oh, this is who I am, and this is what a part of my life. So now I want to focus on Shen. I feel like this one, I mean, he's kind of just a bad guy because he wants to be a bad guy. I feel like Tai Lung in the first one was more so like, obviously he was a bad guy. He was driven by greed. But it also kind of wasn't his own doing. I mean, it was, but it wasn't. Like, he just, like, Shen had good parents, loving parents. They created fireworks. They were good people. And then Shen was just like malicious on his own, you know. So it was kind of like all on him, whereas Tai Lung was like, he was good, and then he got rejected once. But it came from, I guess, his upbringing, from his pride, from Master Shifu, from telling him he is going to be this thing and then not getting it, you know. It's just, I think anybody would be angry. I don't agree with destroying the village, but like, at least you can kind of understand, like, damn, like, that's mine. I was told it was mine. It got taken away from me, or I got rejected, so now I'm angry. And then he just does so much, and there's no, like, I guess there is redemption, but it's kind of like too late. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Anyways, for Shen, he already knows what his destiny is going to be, or what his fortune has been foretold. It's he's going, if he continues to do what he's been doing, or doing the things that he does, then of course he's going to be met with a warrior of black and white, and he's going to be defeated. And Shen is just like afraid of this. He's in fear of it, and it's what led to what happens in the movie. It's what leads to Poe's tragic backstory, which is very sad. So it's his fear controls him, and he wants to control the fear. He wants to control his future. He wants to control his destiny. He wants to control China. He just wants everything. He wants power. And it's exemplified, it's shown by the weapon that he holds, that, like, this is an end-all, be-all weapon that's going to destroy, going to give him control of all of China, and I don't have to be good at, or the best at Kung Fu, or I don't have to train really hard. I just have to use this weapon whenever I'm in a fight, and then win and beat everybody. You know what I'm saying? Instead, it should, there is a right way to be, I guess, a ruler, but in this case, he's just kind of like taking it by force. And I really liked he goes to his home, well, like his parents' home, I guess. It's technically supposed to be his, but he got kicked out of Gongmin City. So he's like, listen, guys, this is my home. And I really like the voice actor for Shen. He does a great job. Let me see if I can find him. Shen. Okay, so I'm not gonna hold on to this too long, but Gary Oldman? Gary Oldman plays Lord Shen? No way. That is, oh, that's funny. Okay, so dope. That's awesome. Because he does a great job with the voice of Lord Shen. And I remember I was watching it, and then I thought to myself, like, man, this is such a great voice actor. And it's Gary Oldman. So surprising, awesome stuff. So anyways, there's this moment where he arrives at his house and he has to fight Master Rhino, Master Ox, and Master Croc. And there's a good fight choreography or a sequence between them. And they're fighting, and then they bring in his weapon. And he's kind of just like, oh, you want to see? It's a gift. And for some reason, I felt like that line I was just like, man, the subtlety of it and the overall, like, the eerie sound of it, you know what I mean? It's just like, you know what he's planning, or like he's a bad guy, but this is kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of like the sprinkle of evilness that I enjoy. And I thought that he personified for the character. I thought it was really good for him. But anyways, he shows off his weapon, and then, you know, he, well, spoilers, but, you know, he kind of kills Master Rhino. It's just weird because, like, why couldn't he just move, you know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. And that's what set Poe on his journey to Lord Shen. And that's kind of how all the events come to be. It's like, oh, okay. They attacked Master Rhino. Now we have to go back and avenge him and save him and whatnot. So this whole journey or this whole process is just like Poe trying to learn more about who he is, where he comes from, and it's why he goes to his dad, the goose at the shop, and he's just kind of like, listen, where do I come from? And there's this great back and forth between him and his dad, and they're just like, you may have been adopted. And then Poe is like, I knew it. And then the dad's like, oh, what? You knew? Well, why did you say anything? And Poe's like, why didn't you say anything? And it's kind of like those weird, it's just a funny moment where it's like, well, nobody really said anything because they were both pretty uncomfortable with it, or like nobody wanted to say anything. They were both kind of just happy living their own lives. But now that Poe has kind of moved out, he's doing his own thing, and he's like discovering himself, learning more about who he is. It's like now is like the time for him to speak up. Now that he's having these flashbacks, and then we get the cutest Poe like origin story with him and Ping, and it's just like the sweetest little thing, you know, where he's like, I found you, I fed you, I gave you a bath, I fed you, and then I fed you again. I tried to put some pants on you, and then I fed you some more. And it was just like this constant, cute little thing between them, like how he ends up raising him. And it's also, it's all a part of balancing his life, or like seeing the full picture, you know what I mean? And sometimes if you don't see the full picture, you don't get a full understanding of who you are. And that gives him inner peace. It lets him know, this is who I am, this is where I come from, and this is what happened in my life. And it's also helps him create good friendships, like with Tigress and the rest of the Furious Five. I feel like they have a lot of good moments, Tigress and Poe. Angelina Jolie does a great job of like challenging or like having that strong presence of like command and of like respect. And I just felt like throughout the film, it was kind of like I don't want to treat her like she has to know everything, but it was kind of like, well, if she doesn't know, then she can't help, or she can't, do things the right way. And then we kind of see that like on the outside, she's this tough, hardcore person, but on the inside, she's this tiny little tigress, who just wanted some love and affection and approval, that maybe she didn't get from Shifu when she was training. So she just pushed everything into being strong, So anyways, Poe follows what he needs, and he needs to know about Lord Shen. So when they do meet, man, I thought it was so funny when they have like this laughing back and forth between the two of them. And because they laugh, and it's like an uncomfortable laugh, but it's like a stupid laugh at the same time. It's so funny, so genius. I mean, that moment is just hilarious. So anyways, overall, I think Poe is looking for closure, or like any kind of he's missing a puzzle piece, and he needs to figure it out. So it's this back and forth between him and Shen. And then there's some great fights and choreography. I mean, the animators really do a great job with the movements and like making it that they make it feel really fluid, if that makes sense. It's just like it flows very well, and they make the characters like, especially Tigress, she's so badass in this. Like there's this point where they shoot fire arrows at them and she just catches it. She doesn't even look at it. I mean, that's just cool stuff right there. And they like block stuff and deflect it. Like I just love those little quick moments that just like naturally come to them or are super smart, It shows their kung fu IQ. So essentially, Poe fights Shen, but then he loses, sadly. He gets blown away. But in that moment, he kind of gets full clarity from the soothsayer. He kind of gets like an understanding of like, okay, these nightmares or these visions or this flashback, I've been fighting to push away, but really I have to embrace it and see the full picture. I have to watch it in totality, no matter what. And then that's how he kind of unlocks inner peace. And then we see cute little baby Poe. And then we see his mom. And then we see that she put him in the radish basket to protect him. And then ran away to drive Shen away. And that was that. And unlocking that memory allowed him to heal. It allowed him to like, that's what happened. That's how he's connected to all of this. And it's really sad. But it's not his everything. That's a sad story. That's a sad opening. But then they gave us flashbacks of the first Kung Fu Panda, and it's not all that he is anymore. Like he's not just a orphan, or he's not just an abandoned baby, or he's not just a victim to Lord Shen. He's the Dragon Warrior, and he was chosen by Oogway, and he's Master Shifu's student, and he fights alongside the Furious Five, and he is and he can make delicious noodles, and he defeated Tai Lung, and he protects the valley. You know what I mean? He's so much more. And so he identifies with himself, and he kind of just says, I am Poe, and I'm gonna need a hat. And then there's this funny sequence where he's trying to save the Furious Five because they got captured when he lost. And now he has to stop Lord Shen from destroying all of China, essentially. And so after that, it's just another great fight sequence and moments where he has to, everybody rallies back together to fight. So Master Shifu shows up, Master Ox and Croc show up, all the Furious Five are there. Like everybody's a part of the team. And eventually Po confronts Shen and his weapons. And after unlocking inner peace and doing the cool little dance move that he did with the raindrop, he's able to do the same thing with the cannonballs that Lord Shen is firing. And he's like untouchable, or he's like, he can't be defeated, essentially. And then finally, him and Lord Shen have like this, what's it called? I don't want to say a heart to heart, but they just kind of have like this moment of like, you know, you did something bad to me, but it's not everything to me. Like, I'm still who I am because I chose to be this, and you can choose to be somebody new too. And then Lord Shen is like, well, I choose to be evil. And then he, quote unquote, kills himself. I mean, he could have dodged it, but he chose to take it. So, I don't know. But safe to say that guy is gone. You know what I'm saying? He's not coming back. So, it's just kind of funny that his demise wasn't from... essentially, Po didn't kill him. He was just too stubborn, or he accepted that, like, okay, this is how it goes. And then he just closed his eyes, and then his weapon kind of like falls on him and kills him. So Po was really kind and compassionate, but in the end, he ended up doing it to himself. I don't know, dude. Po, all I know is Po tried to help him out. He dodged them. They could have fought all day, and Shen wouldn't have beaten Po, and Po wouldn't have killed Shen. So really, Shen just killed himself because he didn't, you know what I'm saying? He didn't want to move. But it is what it is. That's the way that life goes. That's the spiral. But anyways, Po wins. He's victorious. And then now he's able to live life at peace, having inner peace, and being his full realized self. And the end of the movie shows us a faraway village, and then we see this kind of like green ball, and then it sprouts up, and it's a panda, and the panda turns around into the great distance that we just zoomed in on, and the panda has a vision, or sees, and says, "My son is alive." And then we're shown this great panda village, and then that's it. That's the end. And that is such a good way to end the movie. Like a great, like, the movie is over, you know what I'm saying? But this is just kind of a glimpse of like the future. And I just thought it was brilliantly done. Brilliant, I must say. Very good. And I thought it was so... I thought it was pretty sweet that they ended it like that. You know, some hope that like, oh my gosh, he could be reunited with his father. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was funny. I like that. I like that ending. You know what I mean? When it was like a hopeful, you know what I'm saying? It's like the story's not over. Obviously, they're trying to set up a third one. But like, there's hope. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's that little like, oh my gosh, next movie's going to be fire. But you know, we'll talk about that next time. So overall, when you're watching Kung Fu Panda 2, get ready for some awesomeness, some Kung Fu, some great fight action scenes, good music. It's so funny. it's hilarious. So be ready to laugh, get some snacks, and do your thing. And overall, I just feel like it's a great family movie, you know. So you have to watch Kung Fu Panda first, though. You can't just turn on Kung Fu Panda 2. You got to do Kung Fu Panda and then Kung Fu Panda 2 and then so on and so forth. So anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. I'll talk to you guys all next time. Thank you.